This is the CreaseCast.
Do you think there's like a grown adult, like 30 years old, who's like dead set that Santa still drops off his presents?
I wouldn't.
There's some like mom that's still like,
I wouldn't.
shows up, throws him on his doorstep, keeping the image alive.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's got to be somebody out there, like especially some. Look, some people need the whimsy. They need They need a belief, like that ability to believe in something bigger. And I feel
something bigger and better than themselves.
Sometimes that is how it goes.
Honestly, yeah, I guess.
And you know what? Like, if they did, like, who are we to say, hey, you can't believe in like the nice and existential kind of thing, right?
Yeah, when your daily existence through 2020 and 21 is just a constant state of existential crisis, you kind of reach a point where you need something magical in your life, to keep you going, because otherwise everything sucks.
Like Vasily Podkolzin, you need to believe in Vasily.
You need to watch him run train on a bunch of mean nothing prospects and assume it's going to be the best thing.
What a interesting way to phrase that, but sure, why not?
I guess run train could mean a couple other things.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but not in that way, you sex deviant.
Sure.
No, for those that don't know, here we'll just do some quick Canucks news rundown, because the big story of the day is Canucks rookie camp opened.
Yeah, we're into the hockey season now.
Yeah, it's kind of kicking off now. Games will start for like, I don't know.
We have another. We're actually, I believe, only about 10 days off from the real camp. The first game, the preseason, because the training camp starts on. Yeah, training camp starts, I believe, on Monday. And people can actually attend. From what I saw, I believe.
Yes, you have to show your vaccine or whatever.
If I got that wrong, or the Abbotsford news.
Yeah.
People will be able to attend that, including media people, and
that could be near you.
It could be maybe.
I mean, not me. My schedule's a nightmare.
Your schedules will definitely.
I was very fortunate to get the time to do the one thing that we'll talk about later.
Yes, we are. We have some fun stuff to talk about today. But yeah, the training camp starts on Monday. It's going to go, I believe, a full week, and then their first game is against the Kraken in Spokane.
Oh yeah, that's right. They do a bunch of random cities.
I believe the Sunday.
They're in like Spokane, and then they do it in like 2 other cities or something, because they're not certain the arena's going to be ready in time, or like they just want the extra polishing time or something like that.
And even if it wasn't ready, like honestly, a smart thing to do is to have the game, like if you're the Kraken, to have your games elsewhere, because like this is your opportunity to like grab some new fans and everything, and like from places that might not have been necessarily into hockey as much. Now you got that opportunity. Yeah, go for it. Have them all over the place. Have them in. Just run on over to Portland and steal Oregon fans. Like, go for it.
That'd be like creating like,
I think they
such a rivalry if they ever found like a Portland NHL squad.
Actually, I think one of their games is in Portland. If I'm, I might be wrong, but I think one of them, because the arena, or no, I'm sorry. They have their 3 games are in Kent, which is where the Thunderbirds play. I've actually been to that rink before. I saw a Giants game there, a Giants Thunderbirds game there on U.S. Thanksgiving, and it was a great game. That building rocks. Everett, obviously home of the Silver Tips.
Yeah.
And then the game they're playing against the Canucks in Spokane, home of the Chiefs.
Right.
Indians. All WHL arenas.
Wait, is it Spokane Indians or Spokane Chiefs?
Spokane Chiefs.
Oh yeah, Spokane Indians is a baseball team.
Yes.
Okay.
Both problematic in different ways.
Yeah, I write about hockey, guys. I know what I'm talking
actually, about. I don't know. Maybe Spokane is it might be like a culturally appropriate name. I don't like in terms of like,
could be.
Yeah, like it might not be what's the word? A settler name. It might be.
Oh yeah, it might be.
Yeah, it might be.
I mean, you trace back most of these like team like city names on like the West Coast, and chances are they're probably derivative of some kind of local band or whatever, right?
Yeah,
like, the odds are in their favor.
Yeah,
but the Canucks rookie camp started.
Yeah,
today actually had quite a lot of media in town. Obviously, there wasn't really that many people on the actual list. There was only 3 defensemen. They needed to get Michael DiPietro to play the second goalie because they only had one available.
They only had Arturs Silovs ready to go.
Yeah, and they had like, I don't know, like 9 or maybe 10 forwards available to play. So like they couldn't do scrimmages. It was mostly like drills and skill stuff, which is fine. Like you can, that's kind of what the point of rookie development camp is anyway. You're just kind of like getting a feel for everyone that you want to get a look at. So it doesn't really matter. You don't have to like put too much weight into it. Yeah. But obviously, Vancouver Canucks fans are a little insane. So naturally, everyone read into everything that was happening.
I mean, to kind of just add on to what you were saying about like the rookie camp and everything. Usually they have the time to bring in a lot more people. Because, obviously, COVID threw a wrench into that. Obviously, just the timing because normally I think they usually do development camp. I think in like August or July, like right out after.
They do it really soon after the draft
because they even bring in those guys who got drafted. Like we have a couple of them here.
Yeah, there is a few, which is pretty surprising. Like the list itself is mostly guys they already have signed to entry level contracts. There's only 2 players I think that aren't actually signed to deals.
Yeah, and those are the 2 new ones, right?
Yeah, that's Victor Persson, Persson or whatever you want to pronounce it.
Going to Kamloops this year.
Kamloops, and then Connor Lockhart, who has not played a game in like a year and a half or something like that. 2 years at this point.
Was he an NCAA guy? Was that what happened?
No, he was OHL.
OHL that's right. So he OHL did not play. That's right.
So he got his first little ice time. I'm sure he's been practicing, but his first competitive ice time or whatever.
Like Pietro last year, right? Like practice can only get you so far. You really need the game stuff, and obviously it's not his fault he didn't play. It's that's just how it went.
There's certainly someone to blame. There's someone certainly to blame for him not playing last year.
For Connor Locke.
DiPietro.
Yes. There were some interesting decisions made there, but Lockhart's case, no, not so much. Yeah, it's a little bit.
It's just a victim of circumstance, unfortunately.
Victim of circumstance. As far as like the prospects go and everything, I know people are reading too much into it. At least, I mean,
you can't blame them. Like this
is exciting. It's fun.
Also, like I think everyone's raring up to just kind of find, like I think you're saying on the last episode, like it's good to have like some positivity and like a reason to have hope for the season. So it makes sense why people would be like reading really heavily into like a stupid rookie camp that's going to last 3 days. There's no scrimmages, so of course
there's no scrimmages. Wow.
They might do one.
I mean,
like 3-on-3.
Yeah, like just. I mean, yeah. I guess. Well, yeah. I guess you're right.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, they can only do 3-on-3 because there's not enough players.
There's not even enough defense.
There's not enough defense unless
3 defenders.
You really want to see if one of the tall guys can go. I guess it would be Klimovich. If he can go back there and play and become the new Quinn Hughes.
Well, it was kind of funny because obviously most of the prospect guys and like media guys were basically there to see what Klimovich can do, what he looks like, and him and Colson were basically like the spotlight was on them.
Right.
And it was really funny. Shout out to a friend of the program, Chris Faber, for tweeting all the videos of the camp. It was really great. You get to see like all these guys in action. I loved his one video of Vasily Podkolzin when he's like, Vasily Podkolzin playmaking. And it was like, Christopher, you're doing 2-on-1 drills. If he's not playmaking, he isn't doing the drill properly.
They are kind of, I think they might have been setting him up, like, a little bit. Yeah. But you know what? Like, I do agree in the sense of like, hey, everybody just wants the prospects to be good. Like,
of course.
If the worst thing people are doing right now is watching a rookie camp and being like super excited about everybody.
Yeah, like
even like the guys who might not necessarily play an NHL game. Yeah. Like
Karl Plasik, look at him go.
How like it's harmless fun. It's the fact that every fan base, every team believes that every prospect they get is going to land and every prospect's going to turn into the next Wayne Gretzky.
Well, as we say that, looking at this list, who do you think could become the next Wayne Gretzky for the Vancouver Canucks?
Out of this group?
Out of this, I see at least 7 players that could be the next Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah,
especially on defense, all 3 of them probably. And Arturs Silovs will probably be the Gretzky of goaltending.
Oh, easily. That was going to be my answer. Was Silovs? I think he's going to score a lot of goals. I think he's gonna get pucks in deep. I think he's.
Side note, it'd be great if like that was like a drafted goaltender specialty, was that he just scored goals.
That would be
somehow.
That would be incredible.
Like he was like, he had like a 900 save percentage. Like he was okay, but he'd score like 15 goals a year just from like behind the goal line.
That would be incredible.
Like, that would be the coolest thing. It would be so stupid.
It would have to basically. It would imply that literally every time the other team pulled their goalie, he was gunning for it, like Ron Hextall.
Racing for it.
Yeah,
which I mean. I'd love that.
That would be very fun.
So much.
Yeah.
It'd be so dumb.
Do you remember who the last guy to score a goal in a game was? The last goalie?
For the Canucks or just in general?
In general. No Canuck has ever scored Canucks goalie's ever scored a goal.
Was it not Pekka Rinne?
It was Pekka Rinne. You are correct. Right. Actually, I'm sure I've told this story on the podcast before, and I know this is going off in a completely different direction, but I happened to be at the Canucks Sharks game in I think it was 2001 where Evgeny Nabokov scored. I was at that game. I was about 4 at the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 years old.
I don't remember. And here's the thing: I remember seeing the puck go all the way down the ice and into the empty net at the other end. But again, because I was young, for the longest time, I had thought for some reason that it was the Canucks who had scored that goal. Specifically, I thought it was Dan Cloutier, because he was the one in net. Yeah. And it wasn't until years, and part of me was also like, I must have dreamed that. Like, I must have been a fever dream or something that I had, right? Because I remember being at a Canucks Sharks game, seeing a goal go in the net that the goalie shot. But yet I couldn't find any record of Cloutier ever scoring a goal. And then it wasn't until years later that I finally saw the clip of Nabokov doing it in the black Sharks jersey.
Nice.
Flipping it down the ice for in a 7-4 game.
That rocks. It's like really rare.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's not only is it rare to see a goalie get a goal credited with a goal.
Yeah.
It is even rare to see them actually shoot it, because sometimes it happens that they're like the last player to touch the puck before delayed penalty.
Yeah.
The puck goes into the empty net. They accidentally put it in their own net.
Yeah.
So to be at a game where a goalie actually shot it is
that's
wild. And that's something you'll never forget for the rest of your life. But I mean, as far as these prospects go, like the guys that they have there, they do have some like interesting players who could potentially be, part of the bigger picture.
Like depth down the road. Like that's pretty much all you're seeing here. Like there's a lot of AHL contracts, a lot of ELCs, like basically just like lottery tickets, right? Like maybe Chase Waters, becomes something. Maybe Alex Canuck-Leipert like actually becomes a pretty decent defenseman. Like you have no idea.
Yeah. This feels like a good time to talk about like with what's going to be going on for Abbotsford this year, because I mean a lot of these guys are Abbotsford players. Like I know I've talked a little bit about Tristan Nielsen before and Alex Canuck-Leipert before, because getting to see those guys with the Giants, and in that regard, especially like the fact that the Canucks now can see potentially a direct pipeline from having guys who might not necessarily be heading to the NHL to get them to your AHL team is huge, because it's essentially like free extra lottery tickets to this.
Pretty much.
To the idea of, if your development is well built, you might be able to turn one of those guys into something.
Yeah.
And that would be massive if you could.
And it's also an easier sell too. Like I think Jim Benning, like Johnson, Cull, like they've all said like how eager like players were to sign in Abbotsford. And it's like, if you're a local kid, like of course, like at the very least you're in the AHL and you get to prove your stuff and maybe you become something for them.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder when you're the Vancouver Canucks trying to be like, okay, hey, local kid,
do you want to play for
play for Utica? But if you're good enough, maybe you'll get a shot in Vancouver. That's not as easy a sell as, hey, you want to play 45 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
And maybe actually have a shot here, play in your backyard. Like that's a pretty good sell. And so like they picked up quite a few bodies, both on ELCs, on NHL deals, on AHL deals. And I mean, their team looks pretty stacked. Like the roster they put at this rookie camp ahead of us, like, it's good enough depth where there's enough young rookies where it's like, okay, these guys are probably going to be rotating in on the fourth line, maybe the third line, like who knows? But at the very least, pretty credible depth.
Yeah.
At the very least, that's pretty good.
I know Danila Klimovich has been talking like, this is almost a rarity for Canucks or hockey young guns as a whole, but he's been talking a big game in terms of like, he really feels that he could crack an AHL team potentially, or like the NHL even.
It was really funny hearing God, I can't remember who it was, but someone was like or maybe it was him himself, where he was like, The Canucks want me to play more aggressive.
That was him.
And then you see like all these like scouts and stuff come out and they're like, more aggressive? Is that even possible? I don't know if we want to see more aggressive Danila Klimovich, which is.
I haven't seen enough of him to gauge. We'll have to get a prospect expert on, but like if that's
the first initial reaction, you're kind of like, oh, okay,
interesting.
This guy is a pretty aggro. On some of the clips they were showing of him, like he's flashing some dangles, a little bit of Niels Hoglander between the legs and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, he's got some style, he's got some panache.
Yeah,
because I think the worry for people or for the scouting industry was he had a really great U18s where he like lit it up or whatever. But at the Belarusian second tier men's division, he didn't like really look that good, and he wasn't playing in like a higher role. So they were kind of wondering, is he just not that good in team play and only excels when he's paired with good players? How will he be when he's like, in the AHL or whatever? But now I guess now that he's stateside, he's like basically just going to do the QMJHL route where he's just like, I'm going to score as much as possible and try and get myself like a top 6 role with the Canucks, which I mean, that's great that he's starting now.
I love that he has that like that drive and that that confidence in himself, because that goes a long way. It made like obviously yes, a lot of players like say Connor McDavid, an Elias Pettersson, a Sidney Crosby, what have you. They're born with that talent. And like
they're just naturally very good.
They're naturally very like good. Like, and sometimes people say like that's not like, oh no, that's not really a thing. Like, no, some people like professional athletes are just built different. They're on a whole other level. But some players get there just by working at it, by crazy hard and just having the confidence in themselves to be able to get that done.
Right.
And the fact that this kid's not like, he's not the most highly touted player in the world or anything, but he's treating himself and he's carrying himself like he is, and he has those expectations on himself.
He's carrying himself like he's going to make the NHL out of like this next camp, which is, I mean, hell, power to him.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a kid who, I mean, I feel like he just turned 18 or he isn't even 18 yet.
Yeah, he just turned 18. Yeah. Like he would have to just camp of his life.
I mean, he'd have to outplay some serious veterans on the Canucks.
He would have to
earn himself a 4th line spot.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't have their depth chart directly in front of me, but I'm thinking, but at the very least, like, you're looking at, say, like, if you're expecting yourself to make the team straight out of camp, like playing on the opening night roster, we're not talking about even in the press box, you'd have to be beating out, say, like a Tyler Mott or a Brendan Sutter. Well, he's not a center though, I don't think so.
No, but I was going to say, apparently Tyler Mott is injured or something, or there's rumors are going around that he might not be ready for training camp. Apparently there's like an injury concern or something like that, which
I have not heard that. That's news to me.
It makes the bottom 6 battles very interesting to say the least, because the Canucks obviously went out and built themselves a legit top 5 AHL team in the Western Conference with their free agent acquisitions. And a lot of those guys are going to be competing for 4th line spots. And before it was like, okay, maybe you were going for the right wing and maybe like the 4th line center, you're trying to outplay Brandon Sutter or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, they need to be battling for 4th line left wing, the right wing, and then possibly the 3rd line right wing as well with Tyler Mott on.
Yeah.
Like that, all of a sudden the possibilities kind of open up way more.
The possibilities open up for sure. But like, even in the case of, say, like, I mean, I think you and I are both under the likely idea that Klimovich isn't going to make the Canucks out of camp. I don't think that's happening. But even if, say, it was like in the potential for him, the thing is, not only would he have to have the better training camp out of all those players, he'd have to have a better enough training camp that it is worth, say, risking one of the other players on waivers versus him, who is waivers exempt and can be sent down if he wants.
Yeah. Or like you run the risk of like, oh, maybe he has like a really great training camp. He has like one good NHL game or preseason, and then He gets in the actual like league, and all of a sudden he's a kid. He's a child, and you've lost Phil DiGiuseppe or whatever on waivers for nothing.
Now you do get 9 games with him, so that maybe that is in their interest. Maybe they do end up deciding, like, again, we haven't even seen him in actual training camp yet. Yeah. Like, maybe they decide, we get 9 free games before we have to send him to the queue. Let's see what he can do. Like, let's give him a game and see how it goes. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, he's just going to go straight to his QMJHL team. I don't know if we have. I forget exactly which one it is, but
I have no idea.
Honestly, that's the better route for him to go. Like, it's going to be better for him to get more. He'll get far more game action with whatever Q team he's playing on.
Yeah.
And he'll get far more opportunities to succeed. Because even at the AHL level, let's say he was good enough to make the AHL team, I think they'd be very hesitant to give him any sort of big minutes right away, especially with, again, like you said, they have a lot of players this go around. Like you obviously saw the Utica team last year. Like, they had good pieces, but they weren't like super deep by any stretch of the imagination. There was more.
No, like
there was more reasons to say go, okay, we're gonna give the rookies some extra time here.
Yeah, because they're, at the end of the day, their team was basically like Sven Berchi, and then
Sven Berchi was Gadget,
but it's like everyone else. Yeah, and then half the Blues. But like at the end of the day, they had 2 quad A players in Berchi and Annis, and then a bunch of kids.
Right.
And this year, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a lot of quad A players. And then, as we see in this rookie camp list, maybe 6 or 7 like kids that are competing for minutes, right?
Right.
And so you don't want to send Klimovich to the AHL where he is going to be competing with 7 or 8 other guys for minutes, when you can just send him the queue and he's going to play.
Yeah. You don't want to have another like Jonathan Dolan situation where you have this guy who could be doing doing good stuff for your team sitting in the box, in the press box, just because you want to play your older guys more. Also, just for clarification, for people who aren't sure, who don't know, a quad A player, if you could define that, what that is.
It'd be like the Reed Bouchers of the world, or like the Nick Patans, players who are a step ahead of their peers at the AHL level and find ways to score at unbelievable rates. I'd even say Sam Annis is one of those players as well, but they are not afforded this time and space needed at the NHL level to have the same kind of impact or production. Okay. Because most of the time these guys are getting called up to, 4th line roles, 3rd line roles, and their games simply do not translate to what's asked of them. Thus, they are considered quad A players. So
gotcha.
It's not like a slight or anything. Like, you'd rather be one of the best players in the second tier. If you are
in the AHL playing regular minutes in the AHL, you are still in the 1% of great hockey players in the world. Like, exactly. you are still an incredibly good hockey player. Like, there is no shame in that whatsoever. Yeah, and like if you break, they want them to win. That's why they want those. That's why sometimes you see teams sometimes forego the prospect development aspect in favor of just getting them to win, because they feel they have a good team and they want to win and get those games in, As far as like the players who are who've come into this prospect camp and like definitely are either definitely going to play in Abbotsford or could potentially see time in Abbotsford. Are there players out of this group that you feel are gonna be important to watch this season in terms of like that, making that potential leap to Vancouver later?
It's a good one. Good question, because honestly,
in other words, where's Jet Wu these days? Like, where's Jet Wu?
Jet Wu needs like a full year in the AHL, maybe a year and a half.
You still feel he's that far?
Well, like, he was fine last year. Like, he was completely fine. But again, it was such a watered down and bizarre league that I can't be like, oh, he looked good against, fellow juniors and first year players.
He looked good in 5 games against Syracuse.
Yeah, like, especially when you consider the fact that they only played 2 teams the entire year.
That's right. That was God. That was a rough year for you, man.
Yeah, like you can look great down the stretch because you've played against the same forward groups 8 out of your last 12 games. But that doesn't mean necessarily that you're ready for the actual AHL, where you're playing one of 9 different teams in a single month.
Right.
So, like, he made strides, sure, but I still would never be like, oh, yeah, he's competing for an NHL spot this season.
Oh, yeah.
He needs time, and he'll get that this season when I'm, assuming he'll probably play like a third pair role, probably be like on the right side of Guillaume Brisebois, who's just kind of like a depth left shot defenseman at this point. So it'll be good for his development to actually like see that ramp up in intensity and in terms of quality of competition as well. Besides him though, like it's the same thing with everyone else. Like Carson Vogt, he's gonna have to deal with the challenge. Ethan Keppen, like he struggled really bad last year to keep up, and it's going to be even harder this year when the competition's even harder. Tristan Nielsen, Canuck Leipert, like Karol Plasik, like he's a really small guy. He's 5'11", 155 pounds. Like these kids are all going to have to develop to a very rough and tumble league that's going to have, like, without taxi squads, you're going to be seeing a lot more competitive games, because before, when people were competing in the AHL last season, it was to maybe get a taxi squad opportunity, right?
Right.
This year, people are competing for like an actual chance at playing in NHL games again. Like there's a legit shot, like you can get called up cross border or whatever if you're playing the goals.
And there's a legitimate shot that you're at least going to get a lot of AHL time this year, which is what you weren't necessarily guaranteed last year, because especially with the taxi squad spot thing thrown into it.
Yeah, when you had, I think Guillaume Brisebois played 5 games for the Comets last year.
Yeah, I mean,
or Ashton Saunders played 2 games last season in its entirety.
It's going to be wild looking back on this year and say well, obviously it's going to be wild no matter what. But in terms of like specifically from a hockey standpoint, looking back on 2020 in say 10 years time, and seeing what that, like, how that affected some players' trajectories. Because for some, I don't think this is the case for any Canucks players necessarily. With the potential worry of, say, like a DiPietro, not necessarily because of how little games he played, but the idea of like some teams might have like potentially just completely lost a valuable year out of a guy. And he never maybe hit that ceiling because he just couldn't play this season, or
just the lack of ice time like screwed up like his confidence or whatever, and all of a sudden development goes haywire. I mean, that can still happen too. Like
it can definitely still happen.
Like I was saying, like if you're only playing Syracuse and Rochester for an entire 3 or 4 month period, that doesn't necessarily mean you have developed either, right? Like you just get accustomed to playing the same people, right?
Right. Is there any player out of this group that you're excited to see in Abbotsford in particular? Like, is there one guy that stands out that you're like, oh, I cannot wait to like get to see this player hit the ice in person?
I'm always about the new kids.
Okay.
Like Jet Wu, I think I know what to expect. I'll be hoping for more offense, but I'm always like kind of like okay, who are the new kids and what are they bringing to the table? So I'll be looking at Canuck Leipert. I'll be looking at Nielsen. Silovs if he gets in games, Chase Waters, like basically anyone that I've never seen before is who I'm always most interested in, just to see what their first year's impact is. Everyone else, I don't care. You're dead to me. Gadjevich, I'm done with you. I don't care.
Oh man, I feel like you gotta give him a chance. He might win you Calder. I think overall I am, I'm just excited to see the players getting their opportunities again, and the fact that they're going to get to do them locally is really great. I think I'm assuming all of these players will be also in the big training camp later, with the exception of maybe Victor Person. No, they'll send them all. They're all here.
I don't think there's contract restrictions on appearing in preseason games either. Because I know. Not last season, but the season before, Vincent Arsenault played in a preseason game, and he's on an AHL deal.
Right, you can't have the AHL guys come up and play. Like that's allowed.
Sorry to Chris Faber, who probably knows how it's pronounced. Yeah, and he's just like gritting his teeth right now, going, "Oh my god, you fucking idiots!" With apologies to Chris Faber and the Paraswan family. I don't think he'd be able to play because he's still not an AHL deal or a ELC. So he won't be allowed to play in preseason.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to play any games, but he would be able to attend the training camp.
It would be spicy as fuck though, as if he looked really fucking good at training camp and they were like, "Oh, maybe we have something." That would be pretty cool. I doubt it would happen because he's still like a kid, but
he's got a ways to go. But I know when he was drafted, I remember when he was drafted, a lot of like scouts were saying, "Oh, this could be a really good sleeper pick for like a good late round pick for the Canucks," which is something that they haven't hit on a lot in the last so many years.
No.
Well, they've never been great at it. They had the Pavel Bure one, obviously, but that was years ago now. They've had a few. I mean, Jannik Hansen, I think, was a later round selection.
Yeah, he was like one of the last picks in like the draft in his year.
And obviously, not in every team, not most teams don't hit on their sixth or seventh round guys, but the problem is you gotta hope your development can hit and your scouting can hit on somebody
at least like
once in a while,
one every 8 years.
Years. That's a good number. That's a fair amount of time.
Most of the scout people that I talk to are really high on like Aiden McDonough. They have high hopes for Jack Malone as well. Like these are all like late picks that might be something for the team like down the road, like good quality depth pieces. Maybe Victor People is one of those players for them.
Maybe. So, and it's gonna eventually it'll come down to he'll get his opportunities. I'm sure he'll get his time in Utica at some point playing for Trent Cull, who you actually talked to.
I actually
yesterday did. You had a scoop. You had the scoops.
I did. I had the scoop of all scoops.
You had the scoops. I have not. I haven't had the scoop in years. So good for you, man. Like
but your scoop was the like a Canucks Twitter breaking scoop.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't necessarily like I wrote something incredible and I'd gone out of my way to find this great thing. Like it was just luck of the draw kind of thing. It was lucky moment kind of thing.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
But you went out, it's very funny. This episode, usually you are host number one, but I'm very quickly turning into
you're kind of turning into host because you're going to ask me about the interview and how it went.
Because this is a very Comets heavy episode rather than a Canucks episode because there hasn't been a lot of Canucks stuff to talk about yet.
Oh yeah, okay, here. Before we get into my interview with Trent Cull, we should do one Canucks related thing. We should update the people. Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes are not signed still.
Yes, that is important. Pettersson, according to Rick Dollywell, is in Vancouver.
Yeah, we got that going.
Hughes is not.
Hughes is definitely not. It is 5:00 on Friday, September 17th. Neither are signed, and their actual Canucks training camp is next Friday.
It's Monday. I think it's.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure it's Monday. If I'm not mistaken,
regardless of which specific day it is, it's fucking soon is what it is. So the fact that neither are signed, I mean, we literally just spent like 15 minutes talking about like guys like having an opportunity to play for the bottom six. How about the top six?
What are we gonna do if we
star center?
What are we gonna do if they have no? Suddenly we don't have a team.
You know what their center depth is? Because
I mean, it's Bo.
Your wings are pretty decent. Like they're pretty set if you keep Miller on the wings. But your center depth is still Horvat, Dickinson, Sutter, and then maybe Justin Dowling.
Yeah,
you can't put Miller at center.
Now that you say it,
now that he's injured,
is not healthy.
Yeah,
so
potentially injured,
he's gone,
potentially unable to play. So then suddenly camp becomes incredibly spicy because they'll need to figure out who can play and have to factor in their cap hits in the event that Hughes and Pettersson are able to sign. Waivers.
Thursday. My apologies.
Okay.
The tickets go on sale Monday. That's why. Okay.
That's the important thing.
They have a few more days. They have like 5 or 6.
A bit, but the Darren Dreger was on with Rick Dolly with a Sportsnet 650, I believe, and he was not exactly glowing about his belief that Jim Benning handled this contract negotiation well. He was of the mindset that maybe they prioritized some things ahead of Hughes and Pettersson's deals when he shouldn't have.
Yeah. And this is coming out after the IMAC report yesterday, I believe, that where he said he thinks it's likely heading to where both players are getting bridge deals, which is not good.
No.
And I don't know how it ended up there, considering they have the money to give somebody, one of them the long-term contract, preferably Hughes.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, if they end up going with 2 bridge deals for both of these players, that's a huge problem. Now,
that's a huge missed opportunity.
It's kicking the can down the road and potentially, especially in the case of your young defenseman, potentially having to shell out an insanely higher amount later on. They had the fortunate opportunity, like to a very specific extent of there being a flat cap right now. They could very easily go to these players and say, hey, look, this is all the money we can give because we were going to give you more if the seasons had continued as normal and there hadn't been a pandemic. You could have very easily walked into that conversation with a lot
more leverage,
and two great players on very team-friendly deals, and somehow you are going to walk out with neither of those.
Neither guy getting a deal that you actually like, not really posturing your team to be set up for long term.
You can't set your team up for long term, and you also can't even use any extra money to go out and improve the team further.
Yeah, people have been worried about this for fucking years now.
Yeah,
that constant signings of players to inflated deals are going to kick them in the ass eventually and ruin their window.
This coming.
Everyone with a brain saw this coming.
Because the second you give this management team any cap space, they spend it away. And I'm not talking about, say, the AHL, like those AHL contracts they've done. Those are meaningless. Those were good. Those are good, cheap.
They're league minimum deals. They don't even matter. They're like mostly one way or whatever.
It's the thing. It's where when you give $5 million combined to Tucker Poolman and Travis Hamonic for no reason. It's when you trade for Oliver Ekman-Larsson and his $7 million cap hit while still paying $6 million a year for Tyler Myers.
Yeah.
It's those things that add up and are the heirs.
The death by 1,000 cuts, where and then you dial it back a bit too, and you go into the season when they sign Tanner Pearson to an extension before having any of their stars locked up, and you're like, you know how you could hold leverage over Tanner Pearson is if you said, well, we need to sign Patterson and Hughes. We need you to sign for a 3-year, $6 million contract. It isn't much, but if you want to play on a contender, that's what we can give you.
Yeah.
And they gave him what the agent said he would have gotten on the open market.
Yeah.
And I'm not making that up. That's legitimately a quote from Jim Benning where he said the agent said Pearson would fetch 3 by 3.5.
Did he say that? Did he say verbatim? Because that would be bad.
He literally said the agent was talking about what Pearson could get on the open market, so they gave him it.
Anybody
before they had Patterson or Hughes signed. Like, oh my god!
It's you look at teams like Tampa Bay where they have teams taking pay cuts, or they have great players taking pay cuts to stay on a contender and play on a winner, and through no fault of the players themselves, they're getting a lot more. They're getting paid good value. They're like, you could argue in some cases overvalue, but in other cases, totally fair value
relative to also what this team values, right? Yes. Like it isn't like the Leafs, right, where they're just overpaying, because that's just
they feel they're very
precedent
cool.
they've set. But they've spent so much money on inefficient players that at this point, if you're Hughes or Pettersson, you're like, I want to get paid for what I'm actually bringing to this team.
Yeah,
I'm not Jay Beagle.
Yeah. We never get that. It's not frustrating when you see, like, again, I bring this particular scenario up all the time because I feel like it's the best case. It's the best one to bring up. Mm-hmm. Like with Louis Eriksson's contract, there was the idea that, okay, this guy, if it works out, if it pans out, he's going to be at least a top 6 player for us.
Remember the World Cup?
Remember the World Cup? Oh, and now Höglander's wearing his jersey number, and I'm like, oh, if you bought your Canucks jersey from the Canucks, like a Louis Eriksson jersey from the Canucks store, you've just lucked into a free redo on that, which is, you have won today. You're stuck.
The Canucks people must be so pissed at Höglander though, because first they sold his jersey, it's the Höglander 36, and then they added the umlaut, and so people, they had to, for $5 or whatever, add it, and now he's changing his number. They're like, come on.
To be fair, it probably does not cost that much to do. Like, it's probably like it's one of those things where you're paying a lot for it, but it's actually probably super cheap to do. Like, it doesn't. It's no. I don't think it's any skin off the team's nose as much as it is like for fans who paid $200 for a jersey. And this is like the third year in a row because Gaudette changed his jersey last year. I think the year before somebody else did as well. Like, I think there's been a few cases where players have changed their jersey numbers, but at the end of the day, I think generally teams are nice and they offer a free upgrade, like a free recustomization on those jerseys if you bought them from the store and everything.
Nate Schmidt took Gaudette's number, right? 88.
Now they're both
and now they're both gone. What a dick! What a total dick move.
I mean, let's not disparage Nate Schmidt. He was I don't.
No, he wanted out. I have no time for him.
Oh, geez. It was very much I mean, I'm sure it was one of those, hey, could I have the number things? And Gaudet was like, sure, I'll change.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was very easy. I'm sure it was a very easy trade-off. But like, yeah, I think there are just some weird things. The Canucks have done some weird things, like, and with like Louis Eriksson, there was at least the idea that this guy, if it worked out, he could be a long-term successful part of the future for the Canucks. It backfired in a crazy way.
It was somehow the worst one dished out. He's like the least.
Yeah, it was
the least valuable one of that
and yet
FA class.
And yet I really can't classify it as the worst contract this group has signed, because there was at least a semblance of there's reason to believe that this could be worth it. Whereas you go into you start giving out, say, like $3 million a year for Jay Beagle. That to me is far more egregious, because even though it's half the cost of
the term attached to,
and the term is less, it's that you already know that Jay Beagle's only a fourth, third line guy. Why on earth would you give him that much money? Why would you pay the cup champion tax on him as well? And you pay the cup champion tax and the free agency tax on this player for when your team's not there. And now, and they're still kind of doing it. They're still kind of doing it.
They basically are.
Yeah. And they're valuing those players in a way more than they're valuing Pettersson and Hughes. And that's why we're stuck in this problem. Now, like the same thing happened to Besser. It happened to Horvat to an extent. And they just keep shooting themselves in the foot. Like they're denying themselves a shot at longer term success because they refuse not to pay a premium for depth. They did better this year.
It was marginally better, but then you look at the deals to Hamonic and Pullman, and you're like, they're still overpaying for, like.
Well, it's undoing it now because they don't have the player. They don't have their 2 stars signed.
Yeah. With the Eriksson deal, like you said, you're paying for something that you know should arguably work out because there's a precedence of success with the model that you're hoping to achieve. Sedins plus Eriksson equals goals.
Yes.
This formula to success is not there for Hamonic or for Pullman. It's bets. They are somehow betting on a zero offense Tucker Pullman to suddenly be like a Chris Tanev for that contract. They're hoping Hamonic is better than he was last year, even though he's a year older. And he was
they're constantly buying on expectations rather than actual case works than the actual like data in front of them, like the actual work.
That's like the product of having a scout as the GM, because he's like always looking at potential. He's not looking at like the actuality. Like Tyler Myers, when he was leaving the Jets, there's a reason why they didn't re-sign him. Like they could have bid.
They could have,
but they didn't, because they knew exactly what he was, and paying more than $5 million or whatever it was for him wasn't worth it. So they're like, go get overpaid by the only team bidding on him on you.
And now they're paying a guy $5 million to essentially be a third pairing defenseman
who does not gel with any of the left side options.
He's not a good fit with any of the guys you're potentially seeing.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, I'm sure we'll harp on that on those kinds of things later on in the season. But for now, I think we should pivot over to the fact that you talked to Trent Cull.
Yes.
So okay,
let's talk about Tyler Myers for another 25 minutes, shall we?
We will have so much time for that.
It's an 82 game season. We're gonna have a lot.
And again, we've immediately gone into the point where we were like, oh, we're gonna keep it positive for the first little bit, and then immediately went dark.
If you think about it, like every show of ours is kind of like every Canucks season starts out super positive, energetic, and then we remember what team we're talking about. And it completely slumps down and gets miserable and more miserable until the very end when we do our sign-offs and it becomes really fun again. Yeah, because that's the off season for us.
Yes, that's exactly. So this is for people who don't know this. You have done, obviously you write all the time, but you've not done a lot of media stuff per se. You've done the Abbotsford Project, which was your first one, which was your very first
at the time.
Yeah, personally at the time. And then your second ever interview, or like at least interview day in hockey, was Trent Cull.
Yeah,
the other day.
After a year, God, like 2 years now.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, so for those that don't know, I wrote an article. It was an interview it was a one-on-one, exclusive one-on-one. It wasn't like a Zoom availability where I got in my questions. I missed his actual first availability when they announced him as the head coach of Abbotsford, because I'm a pleb and obviously I'm not ingrained with the media, so I'm not on like the lists of, who gets Zoom call invites and stuff like that. Just to peel back the onion a bit, show you guys how it's made. So I went out of my way. I was like, you know what? I feel like there's still some gold here to talk about that last year in Utica, because no one really talked about it, just how fucking weird and shitty and crappy it was. And I was like, he's coming over to the West Coast for the first time in 8 years. It makes sense to have a piece out that's basically bridging the gap between the two. And I messaged their PR people, and they were very kind to actually let me do the interview, which I didn't think was going to be possible, because my entire off season is mostly memeing the organization and making fun of their long-term direction. So yeah, I had 1 day's notice to do the call, and it was going to happen while I was at work, my day job. And that was really stressful because, of course, everything went wrong at my job. So I was managing my actual work duties, which was a lot, with prepping myself for a very important interview, the first one I had done in 2 years with an actual coach, because I actually didn't talk to a coach on Botchford Project Day. I believe you asked a question.
I talked to Travis Green,
did you not?
I got to ask Travis Green a Zoom question, and that was, you did not ask Travis Green any questions,
because for my Botchford Project was about the AHL, and
so you didn't necessarily. No, I mean, you could have maybe asked because he had the experience of coaching that team prior. So maybe, but you didn't need it. Not after a game. It's not an after game question.
It would have been really weird after the game. Like, hey, do you want to talk about the AHL? And he'd be like, please don't ever ask me a question again.
Yeah, morning skate, go for it.
After morning skate, that's fine.
Never. That's one thing they'll tell you that you'll learn, that if you're a media kid, you'll learn very quickly, is there are times you can ask the fun questions. There are times where you gotta. It's just about making sure you know when you gotta ask the questions.
There's a code for players on the ice, and there's a code for media members off the ice.
Yeah,
just so you know.
Yeah.
Shout outs as well to David Quadrelli, because I had no idea how I was going to record this phone call interview with him.
Oh, really?
I had no clue what I was going to do, because I was doing it at work. I didn't have my setup. I didn't have my computer.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, how the fuck am I supposed to do this? Asked Quadrelli, sent me a bunch of advice, told me how to do it while he was driving. Of course, talk to text, so don't worry, he's not breaking the law. So shout out to the quad father himself. I promised him I'd buy him a side plate of bacon the next time I went to brunch with him.
I thought you were going to say you were going to buy him a pizza that he can put in his air fryer. His air fryer.
I mean, you could probably air fry bacon, but anyway.
Oh, you definitely can.
You can air fry anything. But anyway, so the day comes. Of course, I'm stressed as hell. Work's a nightmare, and then I'm up in my company's boardroom. Shout out to my work for making sure no one came in the boardroom while I was doing this interview. I told them all what the deal was, and they were like super stoked for me. So that was really nice of them. Yeah. The call starts, and we're doing the pleasantries because obviously we've never talked before, right?
Yeah.
Like, he has no clue who I am. I've never talked to him before. So he's like, I introduce myself, all that, whatever. And he's like, I'm not like a big Twitter guy, but I follow some like common interests. So I see your name pop up here and there.
Oh.
And in my head, I'm thinking within the last 4 months, I have put out fake doctored DMs of me with Quinn Hughes and feet. I've put out a bunch of other memes, just basically making myself look like a complete buffoon.
I am so scared to find out
so
what you're about to say to me right now. I am learning this as you are, guys. This is
very fortunately he didn't specify that he did follow me on his burner account. I can't actually confirm he does have a burner account, but
you shouldn't. You shouldn't even if you did.
Quick Twitter search, you can't see his actual official account, so he's probably got a burner out there if he's following some of the stuff. Maybe it's his wife's. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's his.
I think some people here. I'll say this. I think people have said that just about every NHL player, every NHL coach, every GM has a burner account. You shouldn't. I mean, leave them be. If you just let them be.
Hopefully, he's read all my pieces about the stats and me, giving him praise for the 5 forward power play unit last year, which was fucking fun as shit. But yeah, that was the start of it, and I was nervous as shit. And then when I realized he's probably seen me meme a bunch of weird feet pictures and OnlyFans jokes, I was like, you know what? If he's seen that, I can't possibly embarrass myself any further, so this should go pretty well. So we talked about development. We talked about specific players like Jet Wu and Carson Fogt and Will Lockwood. And he was super generous with his time. I felt really bad, because obviously I'm a very long-winded guy since you've been podcasting with me. Yeah. I can kind of go on tangents, go off the rails a bit, getting a little better. That's booze for you. I asked him quite a few questions, and he, in my first question, he answered 5 questions I had planned in the first one. And he was talking for 6 minutes, and I was just like, man, this is gonna be the shortest phone call of my entire life.
Well, I mean, hey, look, that in itself is hard to. It's especially hard to get hockey coaches and stuff to open up sometimes.
Yes.
It's always impressive when you can get a good serious, honest answer out of them for things. I mean, we've seen it with Travis Green
either, right? That's also the hardest thing is asking questions so that you don't get the, we're gonna go in deep, put pucks in deep, do this,
there's the lingo. There's the lingo, and then there's the good answers.
But if you haven't seen it, check out my website, ahlnucksharvest.com. I have the entire interview up there. If you're a goalie guy, I did ask him about Michael DiPietro and his 50 games played. He couldn't really comment on it because he was like, I have no idea what the schedule is going to look like. It looks rough though.
Yeah. What's great is that you're going to this might have been your first time meeting Trent Cull. At least I assume it was over Zoom.
It was just straight up. He just called me on the phone.
Straight up phone call. Okay. So, but this obvious, but because of the fact that again Abbotsford's moved, you got the Abbotsford team now. You'll get to see him and talk to him on a regular basis now. So you might get the opportunities to say and to get into the nitty gritty stuff as the season goes on. So
now that he knows who I am too, maybe
you built your
chance for a rapport to be built.
Yeah, there's
he can ignore all the Wolverine memes that I send to David Quadrelli. He can ignore.
Look, most
talking
Canucks,
about chicken farm.
Most Canucks Twitter media people meme now. It's not that. True. It's not that uncommon.
So
it comes with the territory.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the best way to build a brand is that you say the weirdest and post the dumbest photos but you also remember
bring the good takes.
But I also bring the good takes, and I actually take the time to do my work. One of my questions I had asked him about the roster changeover and just how in his AHL career, he's had 50% of the roster come back every year, but last year it was only 10% or 28%. I told him I did the actual research, and he burst out laughing, and he was like, good, that's good.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you respect, if real respect real, then he can respect, or he can overlook my very, very embarrassing stupid
you know what, he I'm sure he does, he's got his own thing, he doesn't care, he
doesn't give a shit, he's trying to coach a goddamn
team
he's
got much bigger things to worry about than what you're tweeting.
But the whole idea is that the funny thing was just starting off that interview and hearing he's seen my name, and all I could think of was that stupid Quinn Hughes feet meme I made. Just picturing the head coach of a team looking at a
this is this is the guy I have to talk to.
He's probably waking up. He's I have to do that fucking interview with the weird feet guy.
But you know what? I'm very proud of you, man. This is it's hard to make that step sometimes, especially when you're not say accustomed to doing a lot of of interviews, especially within
over the
hockey,
phone,
especially over the phone,
never talked to before.
And at your work, at your day job, I should say, that's
right next to the president's office.
Yeah, that's it.
Weird.
It's a tough time. I don't know if I've ever said this. I've never talked about this, I think, on the show before. I'm sure we've talked about it. But when I was doing some prep for my Botchford project night, I was talking to I did a phone call meeting with Drance, And I had to take that in the warehouse I was working at the time in our first aid room, because that was the only place that was quiet enough and actually had cell service that I could do it. Sick. And it was super funny. It was super funny in hindsight. Like I was literally sitting on this couch, like with this tiny little rolling stool with my computer out, asking questions. I had my full list out, like where I was asking like transfer questions, and he was super helpful. And it was very, I'm sure I told him about that. Yeah. Like I told him, like,
it might sound quiet. I'm sitting inside a first aid closet.
I'm sitting inside the room that and like, hey, just so you know, if anyone gets seriously hurt, I might have to move. You know. Like nobody did, so it was fine. But I
believe you suggested the first aid closet.
Yeah, I did. That was my advice.
Aid, that sounds very nice.
But it implies that you need one because you're on a dangerous job site. Actually, I think every business has to have one. Like I think it's supposed to.
We've got Band-Aids.
Yeah. Everyone has a drawer. They have a drawer.
Yeah, with a bunch of Band-Aids.
But so it's good to see. Like, definitely go check out Cody's article on Trent Cull. It's very good. It's the start of basically a very big different kind of step for you, almost in a sense, because like you'll still be doing the same kind of like the same content, but you'll also be doing you'll be getting the opportunities now to add a bit more and specifically get to go say like in depth with I keep wanting to say Comets.
I'm never going to call them the Canucks. I am probably going to call them the Abbotsford Canucks. I'm going to need like a hotkey that searches and replaces Canucks with
again. It is very important that somebody comes up with a good nickname for that team, because it's
Baby Nucks sucks.
Baby Nucks is too. It's not great. It's too long. It's not necessarily indicative because some of the players are veterans. Like there's got to be a fine combo in there that you can work with. But so it's good that you're getting out there, and hopefully you're gonna get to talk to Trent Cull again later in the season. Who knows? Maybe we'll have him on a CreaseCast at some point. Maybe he'll be a guest on this show.
Where you living? You driving by
it's
my house?
It's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Like
you never know.
Yeah, and we have for guest stuff we have resources, other resources we could use. Yeah, we have resources for better studios than my basement suite. Yeah. All right. Did you want to get into questions?
Let's get into the Twitter questions. We've got a couple good ones. One from our good friend of the program, Patrick Johnson at Rising Action on Twitter. I don't know what the actual phrasing was.
I believe he asked, how does Cody stay looking so young?
Okay.
my answer is, well, he's got an old Twitter profile picture, so that kind of helps. That's you're how old are you in that? 12?
I changed my profile picture.
Have you you have. You're right.
I updated it when my vaccine.
When you got your vaccine. That's right.
Because I got
the old one.
I got a new pair of glasses. I upgraded my glasses, which I'd had for 10 years, and so I got new glasses. Got my vax, and I was like, it's time for a selfie. Just fucking go for it.
If you're feeling it, go for it. Yeah, exactly.
But I do not try to stay young, Patrick. My workout every day is walking to my car, and then whatever happens at work, and then maybe I'll go for a run or do the Coquitlam Crunch. Shout out to the trail maintainers out at the Coquitlam Crunch. But it's raining right now, Patrick, so I don't know if I'm ever going to do it again. Maybe next summer or spring.
You do have to drop your skincare routine. That's also part of it. Drop your skincare routine, sis.
I would have to ask my wife, because she just holds things in front of me and says, put this on now, and now put on this, and then put on this.
Okay.
It's from Sephora. It's very expensive.
Yes.
I don't know what it's called, but they're little like water droplets, and some of them really sting. It's like acid or something. It's like lactic acid you pour on your face.
Interesting.
Yeah,
we're gonna do the Cody makeup tutorial at some point. Like the
the other way I stay really looking young is I use the zoom filter effect to make myself look a lot cleaner.
Yes. Not that I was asked the question. Not that I was asked this question. because I actually am young.
Yeah,
But actually, one of the things that I found very interesting, and it's so funny that we're talking about this, is that I'm somebody who doesn't always get a lot of sleep. I end up having, like bags under my eyes a lot of the time. Like they're not necessarily in the best health that way.
Mm-hmm.
I should be getting to sleep more. But one thing I did recently get was like this like under eye cream. No, I heard face masks are good, but it's like this under eye cream. It's got like a caffeine infused aspect to it or something. Ooh. And it like legitimately, it makes me look so much more awake. Like it makes me look a lot less tired. And it does kind of like wake you up a little bit. Like just like, it's not like, oh my God, this thing's just giving me the jolt. Like I'm ready to go, right, sort of thing. But it definitely wakes up your face. Like it's really nice. Like that eye cream is great.
I don't know if we ever talked about it, but are you a night owl or a morning person?
I am a night owl. I didn't know this was actually a thing until very recently. But apparently when you're ADHD, you actually also kind of like run on basically a different time schedule than other people, to the point where you kind of get like a second wind around like 11 or 12.
That might explain a lot.
Yeah.
Me.
Oh, you too. Oh yeah. For you too. Right. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't know this until recently when I heard I was actually listening to another podcast, like not a hockey podcast, a different show, talking about how like one of the hosts, she has ADHD, and how when her husband like is going to sleep, she like is ready to go to sleep at like 11 or 12 at 11 or something, she's just getting like that second wind of like, oh, I want to do all these other things. And apparently that's a thing. I didn't know. But that explains a lot of why I am like, sometimes I find it so hard to go to sleep, even if it's like midnight and I've been up all day, like, and I've been just doing stuff, running around. Sometimes I can't get that sleep. You're the same way. You're a night owl?
I'm a huge night owl. I do not operate in the morning, but I have to because of my work. So I will usually stay up until 11:30 or midnight every day.
Yeah.
On weekends, I will stay up until 3 a.m., maybe 4.
Yeah.
And then I will wake up for work at 5:30.
Yeah.
Which is very bad for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do this.
It's not necessary. Yeah, it's not the best. I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to get into the habit. For some reason, I really recently lost my ability to wake up on time at like specifically when I'm not working. I've lost the ability to get up at a regular time, like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. I've gotten into this weird thing where like I'm almost always getting up at like 10 or 11, and I absolutely hate that because I feel like I've lost so much of my day already, because there is something to an advantage of just getting up, getting a coffee, taking my medication, sitting down and getting to work. There's something, and when you start at noon,
then
you get up at 11, you're starting at noon. Done. Yeah, half the day's gone. You feel like you've lost so much time. So I'm trying to get back into that habit, and school's helping with that. And also the fact that, eventually I'm going to be doing more like hockey stuff. And that includes going to morning skates, being up at like 5 or 6 for those things and stuff. And that's something I got to get reaccustomed to. So working on that. Obviously, get your sleep though. It's important to get your sleep. I definitely don't get enough of that, and that would help, I'm sure.
If you take anything away from this episode 137 of the CreaseCast, take away that you should sleep well.
Yeah,
sleeping is the solution, but I will never do it because I would rather stay awake and do things. Questions from our friends. Best program, 6th best podcast in the nation. Trust the process. Their first question.
You've been on that show, haven't you?
I have once as a guest to do a quiz, the Beat Bowman Off quiz. And then I also recorded a little joke bit for them once.
Yeah. I remember. I was like, oh my God, it's the guy from the Quest Trade commercials. I know that guy.
Yes. Yeah, featuring Roxy as well.
That's right.
My wife,
that was great.
She was the highlight. I was just there. But yeah, Bowman asks, when is the Sunset Boat Cruise? Lachlan and I looked it up ahead of time. $85 for like a really shitty looking boat around.
This is the Sunset Boat Cruise that Bowman is talking about. It's one around Granville Island, like around like the Burrard Bridge and everything.
Yeah. It does not seem worth it at all.
It starts at 7 p.m. It's I don't know. There's no food involved, and that which immediately turns me off to the idea to the concept. I guess there's also one in White Rock from what I saw. Like you go out on a boat, you watch the sunset.
But I'm not driving there. Neither of us are driving there. That's way too far.
You know what? Like, okay, look, if you're allowed like drinks or food on there, that sounds like a fun way to spend New Year's Eve. Or when they do the fireworks, during the summer, the celebration of light or whatever it's called. That sounds like a good reason to do that. But I don't know if I'd be doing that just like on a
casual weekend.
It's just a Tuesday night. Hey, you know what sounds fun? Let's go sit on the water.
Spend $85 to sit in like the shitty, stinky harbor and not eat or drink.
Yeah, and then Wyatt also had a question for us.
Wyatt had like a double whammy. He asked us, where are the Abbotsford Canucks going to finish in the standings? Do I believe the hype, or do we, believe the hype? Do we think the Canucks have brought in a ringer to finish first overall? They look really friggin' good. I mean, I would not be shocked if they finish top 5 in the Western Conference. I think the Eastern Conference is a bit more competitive, frankly.
I don't think they hand out a President's Trophy-esque award, do they? It's just it's just divisional until you get to the Calder Cup. Right. So, and to give everybody kind of a idea of like who the Canucks, the Abbotsford Canucks are up against this year, they're up against 8 other teams. They've got
the Ontario Reign doesn't really count because the Ontario Reign is a junior team 99% of the time.
Yeah, really, the Reign they're
Ontario, like U23.
But they have some very good ones.
I mean, they're very good. They don't win a lot though because they're so inexperienced.
They're very much in the middle of that of that restocking the cupboard thing.
Correct.
You have Henderson Silver Knights for Vegas. Bakersfield Condors are the Oilers. The Colorado Eagles are the Avalanche. The Tucson Roadrunners are the Arizona Coyotes. The Stockton Heat are Calgary Flames. San Jose Barracuda, obviously the Sharks, and then the San Diego Gulls are the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that they finish first in that group?
I think it's possible that they finish first because the San Diego Gulls have not been good since Dallas Eakins left. Ontario Reign is like a complete development league or development team. They don't really care. Stockton and Bakersfield are good competition. Henderson is very good as well. But
now I believe the Gulls will have Jamie Drysdale for a large part of this year, so that could be.
Have you looked at the Anaheim Ducks roster? He's probably going to make it.
Well, I don't think they want to. I think that's the thing. I don't think they wanted. I think last year, especially they were talking about how they didn't want. I think Drysdale and who is their other?
Whatever is it, Zegras?
Yes, Zegras. They didn't want them on the NHL roster because they weren't good. Because they weren't good, they didn't want to put them in a situation where they were going to lose a lot of games. They felt they were better served in San Diego, playing more minutes on a team that might win a few more games. So that might be the case that carries into this year, unless they absolutely force them not to play.
Right. I mean, that's fair enough. I just have a feeling the Ducks are going to look at their team and be like, Zegras and Drysdale are going to probably develop better, or it makes more sense for them to play in the NHL and develop than play on an AHL team that just sucks.
Yeah.
Looking
at this list, like this group, I don't see another team that maybe I don't know their rosters well enough to like say maybe give the best answer on this, but like I don't believe most of these cases are necessarily like just brimming with great players or like great young talents or even like high quality veterans. I think they're all kind of just a jumble mix right now. They're all kind of just right down the middle. So yeah, Abbotsford could be very, very good.
They could be legit, which is, I mean, great for the Abbotsford market. The last hockey team they had there wasn't even
building a
part of the team or part of the organization. Like, so this will work out pretty well.
Building a winning culture starts from your farm team. Like it starts there. If you can build a good winning culture and a group that's committed to not only developing your prospects well, but also like winning a few games in the process. You can get that started. The earlier you get that going, the better it bodes for your NHL team. I mean, you look at like the Tampa Bay and Syracuse. You look, I mean, in a maybe not necessarily the best way, but like, you know, say like the Toronto Marlies, and the Maple Leafs, they do a pretty decent job overall of kind of setting that groundwork there.
They've got a good foundation there for development for the Maple Leafs because they have the money. It starts at the ECHL, which is
that's right because they own the Newfoundland Growlers as well. Lots of you can always tell the difference between the teams that have those put in place.
Yeah.
Compared to the teams in the AHL that don't. Like you can tell when some teams are just like, we need a place to put these guys.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say a winning culture really, I mean, it starts with you actually like fielding a competitive team in your AHL squad, but it also like you have to care about where your team is. You have to care about like who the depth guys are coming in. And for Utica, it was always just kind of like, we'll stick them there. We'll call them up if we need them. But otherwise, there was no care.
Yeah, sometimes they lucked into very good teams. Like they had the pieces for very good teams. Like that one team that went to the Calder Cup final. The one
Markstrom playing out of his mind.
Goalies have buoyed a lot of Comet success over the last few years. But yeah, I think they've got a shot this year. This is an actually decent team. Like they're not going to have any shortage of good players to pick from.
They're going to be putting enough guys on waivers from the NHL team to hit the Abbotsford team. They might lose like one, but chances are they're going to have a really fucking good team.
Yeah. That's great. And that's great. That's great. That's a great start of the year. Did we have a question for Trust the Process? Should we ask them?
I'm going to tweet it to them because I don't have one off the top of my head. But,
sounds good.
But if you want to follow what kind of question I've got for Trust the Process, make sure to follow our CreaseCast account.
That's right.
I believe it's at CreaseCast, isn't it?
It's at the CreaseCast.
At the CreaseCast. Okay.
I would like the at CreaseCast one, but somebody who hasn't tweeted in about 6 years is holding on to it. I don't. If we ever get enough followers, I think I could ask Twitter to give it to us.
This account.
Well, kind of, because it's one of those accounts that only has like 3. It only has 3 followers. It hasn't tweeted in about 6 or 7 years. I think at some point it's like hey, can you ask?
Because make them relent.
Yeah, can you just just switch us? Can you like essentially? I think they can technically do that.
I know a lot of like video games do that kind of stuff too. But anyway, follow us at the CreaseCast on Twitter. We'll be asking Trust the Process their question probably tonight, which is meaningless to you, so you'll see it when this episode drops on Saturday.
Yeah,
but you can follow it for future questions that we ask Trust the Process and what they ask us. You can also follow me at Cody Sievertson on Twitter. My Instagram for the website is ahlnucksharvest.com. Sorry, that's a lie. The Instagram account is ahlnucksharvest. The website itself is ahlnucksharvest.com. Peep the Trent Cull interview. Share it to all your grandmas. We love the support. Lachlan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and sometimes TikTok, maybe, at Lach and the Crease. You can find me as well on lachandthecrease.com. I post articles sometimes. Haven't posted one in a while, but we're going to be getting back into that pretty quick here.
Season starting.
Season starting. You can hear me on my other show, Locked On Canucks, starting next week. Every day, every Monday to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So 5 days a week. You're going to be getting.
There's a whole lot of Lach.
It's a whole lot of Lachlan. Some would say too much Lachlan.
Some would say
it's just right. It's just the right amount.
And some would say you're locked on. Oh my God!
Wow, you are the first person to make that joke. Oh my goodness! If I had a nickel.
Wait, is that sarcasm?
Yes, it is. I literally made the banner I literally made the Twitter banner for Locked On Canucks a thing where I had like spray painted over the LOCKED and then replaced it with LACH''D.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah, okay. I replaced that. That was my thing of like, hey, this is a whole show named after me.
I thought I was having a real moment of realization there. I was like, wow.
No, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you know what? You know what isn't disappointing is going over to our Patreon and checking that out. For $5 a month, you get bonus episodes of our other show, Off the Post, that we do. Yeah. We also sometimes post exclusive content. We're going to be doing that a little bit more as we get going this season, especially because we're going to be bringing in some new stuff, some new tech, maybe some guests, maybe some other surprises along the way. And you joining the Patreon helps us do that. So we really appreciate it when you guys join. So yeah, check that out. $5 a month. You can also join the $1 tier if you just want to support a little bit every month.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate this. Hopefully we have some actual news on Pettersson and Hughes contracts next episode. Hopefully they're good contracts.
That's a great way to finish the show. If you're saying, what do you think by the time we record our next show on Friday that we will have will we have one of them will we have one of them signed, both of them signed, or none?
I don't think any. I think we're going like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they're signed.
Okay.
I'm just reading the Taj 1944 summary on Twitter about Darren Dreger's hit, and it is not good looking.
It's not great. But you know what? Okay, you're saying 0. Yeah. I will say for conversation's sake that both will be at training camp on Friday. Both will be on the ice and in Canucks practice jerseys for the Friday training camp.
That's a take. We'll catch you guys next episode, 138. Deuces.
Bye.